welcome to another episode of Rebel Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, Katie.
I'm your other host, Michelle. I want to talk about a scene in a TV show that just came out, or the second season just came out. So it's called The Four Seasons on Netflix. And it follows this group of friends who are kind of, I would say, in their 50s-ish, 40s, 50s-ish, over the 4 seasons of a year. And so you're kind of just capturing these snapshots in time. And they're usually on vacation together, or they're at a retreat together. They're usually not just in their working lives. They're sequestered together somehow.
Also, how have I never heard of this? Ever.
I think you would actually love it. It's got Tina Fey in it.
I like her. She's awesome.
It's a nice mix of funny and earnest and touching and, ridiculous. It's got a lot of different tones to it that I appreciate.
All right.
One of the things I like about the show, too, is something that's seeded in one season blooms in the other.
Right.
And you get the sense of time passing in a different way. So essentially there are these two really good friends, Kate and Danny. They're both married to other people. Danny's gay, he's married to Claude. They decide that they're going to go and move back to Italy, which is where Claude is from. In one episode, Danny tells Kate, and she visibly looks kind of devastated but doesn't fully process it, and then goes off and literally is bawling about it. And then a funny scene ensues out of it where her husband misunderstands why she's crying and goes and yells at him about something. It's they mind comedy out of it, but it is still touching, right? And so it seems like he ends up leaving without them resolving anything. It's not like they have a comeback conversation of I'm going to miss you and whatever, right? It's just okay, you're going to Italy, bye. Good luck with that. And then, so the episode that I saw last night was them going to visit them in Italy. And they start off pretty frigid with each other and pretty just whatever. And Danny's trying to kind of sell her on Italy about how great it is and just look at this and look at that. And she's yeah. And then through circumstances, they get kind of stuck together and have to do kind of some funny things. It breaks the ice enough for them to kind of talk to each other. And that's what I found kind of the most touching and actually made me cry. But him being actually, I'm not very happy here and I miss you. And, her being partly why you're such an important friend to me is I'm not a wife to you. I'm not a mom to you. I'm that 19-year-old that you knew. I don't know why I'm getting upset.
That's nice.
It's something about the time capsule of friendship and how this idea that people kind of carry pieces of you with them and kind of activate parts of you through your interactions and how valuable that is, and that the loss of that. What's coming up for you as I'm saying all of that?
So quite a few things, actually. One is this idea that we are eternally iterations of ourselves. And so it's kind of it's the old idea of looking down into water, into a river or something. You can see all the way to the bottom, but all the different things that are happening at the same time. Everything is always different. It's you're in the same place, but that place is always changing. And then the idea that as a evolving, I think about it as a therapist, right? People come to me and they want to talk about dreams and ideas and perceptions or whatever around relationships in particular, let's say, right? And often we sort of get to the point where I'll say okay, but maybe it's time to interrogate that stuff. Who are you today versus who you were when you were 20 versus who you were when you were 35 or whatever. And those pieces don't, it's not we jettison those pieces or slough them off, right? They're still part of us. Just as an adult person, you're still your 16-year-old self, your 8-year-old self, your 4-year-old self. And it's something about the integration of all those things that makes us a full human. But then there's also something really beautiful about having people in our lives who can be witness to those different stages. You and I were talking about adult children who've lost their parents, for example, right? We were talking about my own mother who passed a dozen years ago. And the idea that there was a particular view that she had of me that no other human shares. And so when that's gone, there's such a loss, right? So it's the richness and also the loss of having these different people in your lives at different times,
Yeah.
that there's a relevance there for you in what I'm saying? Or resonance, rather?
Yeah, I think especially that sense of loss, where, you know, like I've said to people before, especially when you're talking about even like romantic relationships or whatever it is, meaningful relationships, and like this idea of like, oh, well, I'll have another partner, or like, oh, well, I'll have another friend. And it's like, yes, that's true. Most
That's
likely.
true.
If you want that to happen, great, it'll happen, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like that connection is specific to you and that person. It just is.
In that moment as well. There's a timeliness to
Yep.
it, I think, right? Like that's what I
Oh.
heard you say, like in the chronology of our lives, the timeline or whatever, these are specific moments, right? That connect up and become a lifetime.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And I think just like the magnitude of the loss, like depending on how meaningful the relationship is. And I think sometimes people underestimate that and think like, yeah, like I just, whatever, it's like I'm saying no to this and it's fine, right? And it's like, yes, you are. And like, so just in this example, right, it's like he decides to go with his husband and it's really meaningful to him and he's making a choice to say yes to this thing. And it's like the cost of it is saying no to being around his friend frequently.
Right.
And it's like, that's, to me, it also speaks of literally life balance of like, you know, you're saying yes to something, so then something else is, there's a consequence to it. And it doesn't mean one is right or wrong.
So, yes, and I would just run with that a little bit and say like that to me is the consequence of living a meaningful life. Because if I'm going to intentionally make a decision to go in a particular direction, and that's what I would want for myself, for my child, for the people I care about in the world, for everybody really, have this sense of intentionality about the choices that you're making in your life. But if I'm going to choose to go in this direction, it means all of these other directions I'm going to have to take a pass on. So there is inherent loss or grief around what could have been, wasn't, and even if the decision to go in this particular direction is absolutely the best decision, that's great. It doesn't negate the loss of these other unfulfilled possibilities. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Like, and this happens with many things. It's like even leaving a job. And maybe, like, let's assume it's not a job you hate, right? So you're not trying to escape. And
Imagine
even
that.
a job, it's shocking. But even a job that you really don't like, I'm sure there's at least like one little thing in it that, you know, one person or one experience or whatever, right? But like the sense of, I'm moving towards this new thing that I want, that it feels like it'll be more fulfilling. And I'm saying no to this thing, and there's just loss in it. And I think people focus on the like, oh, I should feel great because I'm gaining, you know, and I've chosen. And it's like, yeah, sure, that's true. But it's like, they're actually inextricably linked. Loss and gain. Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, I know that I've used this example before, but, you know, like, for example, in my life, when my wonderful son decided to go to university across the country, which was amazing for him. And of course that was the point. And I'd been trying to create this environment to get him ready to like leave the nest. You know, it took 18 years to get there or whatever. And it was so amazing and fantastic. And I'm so happy for him. There's still the loss. So it's absolutely the right decision. And it's actually a celebration even, I think, to your point around gain. And yet with this gain and this celebration of new directions and new opportunities, the other things fall behind. And there is grief there, and I don't think we look at that, right? Like if we lose somebody we love, or we lose a relationship, or we lose a job that we liked, or whatever it is, right? When something negative happens, we're prepared for that loss, and I think we're prepared for the grief. But when it's actually the excitement or decision or opportunity of something new, we forget that there's also grief, I think, right? That's like the sneaky grief. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think it is sneaky because I think it sneaks up on people where they're like, suddenly, why am I crying? Or like
I'm happy.
Why am I sad?
Yeah.
Totally. And I mean, it kind of speaks to a part that they hit on at the end of their conversation where it's just like, okay, we're going to see each other less. Maybe it's going to be literally every other year. Who knows, right? I don't know how often I can come to Italy. But like when we see each other, it's always going to be like this. Like just because of our connection. Like I don't mean this in terms of we're not going to change as people or our relationship won't evolve at all, but just like the love you have for each other and the relationship you've built can endure.
So like trust that connection is still strong.
Yeah, still strong, still meaningful.
Elastic, maybe.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, like can tolerate the distance, can tolerate the strain. Like you've built enough structure and safety and history together, right? That it can take that strain.
No, that makes sense to me. What's it called? Four Seasons?
The Four Seasons, and I thought it was
The Four
about
Seasons.
a hotel at first.
Turns out it was not.
Then I was like,
No, it
oh,
sounds-
the Four Seasons. That's much better.
I'm thinking like Vivaldi now, but whatever. Still.
Yeah.
No, that's really relevant. I like that. I like that.
I think
Okay, so I always forget to say this, but please, if you've made it this far and you've enjoyed what you're listening to, then please like and subscribe. It absolutely helps us. And if anyone is interested in contributing, like this is sort of a new direction that we want to go in, trying to sort of connect what's happening in our lives to something that is kind of relevant in the culture. So if anybody has any ideas or anything they want us to discuss, drop it in the comments and we'll go from there.
Yeah, anything you're dying to talk about in the TV show or movie you like, and you're like, what do two therapists think about this?
So hit us up. All right, thanks, Michelle.
Thanks, Katie.